Welcome to this edition of Go Vote Omaha, presented by the League of Women Voters of Greater Omaha. I'm Karina Hernandez. Joining us today is Senator Terrell McKinney of District 11 for today's program on the North Omaha Recovery Plan. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization and does not endorse political candidates or parties. The League does, however, take positions on issues. Our purpose is to empower voters and defend democracy. Go Vote Omaha primarily focuses on policy issues, and as a result of our discussions, we hope you feel ready to make informed decisions at election time. Today, we're talking about the North Omaha Recovery Plan, which outlines a few dozen projects in North Omaha, focusing on improved housing, business development, health, and more. This recovery plan is led by Senator Justin Wayne and Senator Terrell McKinney, who is here to tell us what we should know about the plan. So welcome, Senator McKinney. Thank you so much for being here.
No problem. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I remember doing one of these things when I was running for office, so I'm grateful and appreciate the invite.
Of course. Okay, so let's get started. Can you just give us a brief overview of what the plan is and where you are in the process of it right now?
So the North Omaha Recovery Plan is a plan that myself and Senator Wayne, we put together over the interim, just trying to see how we can maximize the influx of American Rescue Plan Act dollars into our state for our community. And through that process, we decided to, number one, try to meet with as many community people as possible to try to put together what do they think we need, what could work and what fits within the guidelines. We also took a look back at all of the past revitalization plans that have been out there for forever, from the 90s to now. And we just tried to grab bits and pieces from each to try to fit into our plan. And as of now, the process is, so the bill was introduced in January. I believe on Monday or Tuesday, it'll be up on the agenda in the legislature. It'll be LB 1024, and we'll have a debate about it to see how much money can we get. The ask was $450 million, and we felt like that was a fair number for a lot of reasons, specifically because the dollars were allocated for communities that were hardest hit by COVID-19. And when you look at the guidelines, it says a lot of the money has to go to qualified census tracts. When you look at the number of qualified census tracts throughout the state, majority are in Omaha, in East Omaha, North and South.
Yeah, I was reading a little bit through the plan and why you're choosing to put a lot of this funding into North Omaha. Can you tell me a little bit about, some of those historical or structural challenges of North Omaha?
I would say historically, it's just been a lack of investment from the state, the city, and the county into North Omaha. For most of my life, I've just seen it continue to deteriorate and not really have much of anything as far as things that are being put in place to actually grow the community. We have a lot of abandoned lots, a lot of abandoned buildings and things like that, and businesses rarely can survive because we don't have the economic ecosystem for businesses to survive. So when we were thinking about the plan, we were like, what do we do? Number one was focus on economics, have an economics focus with this plan. So that's creating more job opportunities, trying to look at ways to assist entrepreneurs and small businesses that are already in the community, try to lift them up and give them some type of help to be sustainable and successful. We also taking a look at housing and trying to do what we can to address the housing needs in the community, because affordable housing is not affordable housing in the state of Nebraska at times. So just looking at that, because North Omaha and South Omaha have a lot of renters, and I know my district specifically is probably 70 plus renters versus ownership, and we think it'll be smart to try to change that, but we also know everyone doesn't want to own. So we want to help those that are renting as well. We also wanted to assist the county in their efforts to address mental health as well and things like that.
Okay, yeah, well, so you said around 450 million, correct? Yeah,
Yes.
so, how will those funds be distributed if they are received for the plan?
If they are received, we're currently trying to create a special committee to figure out what to do with the funds, and we'll go through a RFP process and take in proposals and things like that. Just mainly because we don't want to get the dollars and just push them directly out. And in 5 years, there's nothing to show for it. We're trying to be as deliberate and strategic as possible about where the dollars are going and where they're directed to have the most impact.
Mhm. Right, so will it be mostly like grants, people apply for grants and then, or?
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much through like
Yeah.
a granting process.
Okay, cool. And we talked a little bit about some of the focus areas. Can you talk more about some of the focus areas for the plan? Why those areas, how they were determined? I know you've talked about housing, some of the employment. Do you want to go a little bit more into any more areas that you haven't gotten to yet?
Um, and we also were looking at, historic districts as well. So, well, not districts, but areas within the district. So 24th Street area, seeing what we could do to assist with, assisting and making that, a better place to visit and own a business and, shop and eat, play, and live pretty much. Also 30th Street, looking at 16th Street as well, and the airport area as well. There's a project that has been proposed for a long time. It's called the Airport Business Park. And within our plan is allocation to try to build the airport business park to bring jobs to North Omaha. Because the problem that we deal with, it's not that there is a complete lack of jobs in Omaha, but it's how do we get people to those jobs when our bus system or our public transportation system isn't the greatest, and not everybody is able to drive to Sarpy County or West Omaha all the time. And if you are able to, sometimes it's not the greatest with the weather, and our public transportation isn't always the best, because if you just so happen to miss a bus, you have to wait 2 hours to get another bus and you're late for work. And
Mhm.
it's so many, things that could happen. So a part of our plan is to try to bring jobs to North Omaha. So, you don't have to go so far to go to work. You could go a couple blocks away and work and come back home.
Yeah, and is that through like starting new businesses or?
It's a combination of both. So, it's a combination of both, of recruiting businesses that, because there's multiple businesses or that are looking to grow and come into the community, but we don't have the space currently, which is why we want to grow the airport business park. But another part of that is an innovation hub. I have a priority bill, LB 450, the Innovation Hub Act, and we would like to bring an innovation hub to North Omaha. And the purpose of an innovation hub is to assist small businesses and entrepreneurs with learning about bookkeeping. How do you manage your debt? How do you get access to capital? All those things that, it sounds like there's resources out there, but when you really get on the ground and talk to, those who are trying to go into business, are in business, there's a lot of confusion about where the resources are. And I think it'd be smarter to have a central location of those resources in the community.
Right, yeah. Um, so when you're talking about housing, um, how are you hoping to increase that home ownership and housing affordability?
So we're trying to see, who we can work with within the community that does housing. So we have entities like Habitat and Holy Name, Front Porch, and those type of entities, and seeing what can we do to either work with them or work with somebody else to, bring them in to try to make it a better situation. We don't want to just build up new houses and then the house across the street is not looking in the best shape. The
Right.
city has a program that helps homeowners with, upkeep and things like that. And we want to put some dollars into that to boost that program. So we could build a new house across the street, but the person that lives, the other person across the street isn't left in a home that isn't, looking the best. And we just build up the neighborhood from a two-pronged approach, from building up home ownership, but also those that are already owning or, renting, they're living in a well-kept home as well.
Right.
With yeah.
Go ahead.
And with affordable housing, I think the biggest part about the lack of affordable housing is the lack of livable wage jobs. That plays a big part. People always talk about Nebraska has the lowest unemployment rate in the state, but my district, for example, our unemployment rate is triple that of what the state is. But also, we have a lot of people that are working multiple jobs. So yeah, our unemployment rate is low, but you have people working multiple jobs, and some are not even making $15 an hour in some cases. And I know some employers, because of the pandemic and the labor shortage, have begun to increase wages, but it's not across the board as of yet.
Yeah. Specifically, I read that with a plan, maybe you would be producing 100 new single family slash townhomes and then
Yeah.
200 rentals while preserving around 200 homes. Is that still part of that plan?
Yes, that's kind of what I was talking about, of building up homes, but also preserving homes within the district. We have, if you drive around North Omaha, you'll see a lot of empty spaces where homes used to be, but were tore down because the homes weren't upkept. So there's a lot of lots that could be filled in with new homes and apartments and things like that we're going to take a look at.
Right. And then getting into another aspect that you've mentioned, mental health. How are you hoping to take mental health into this plan?
So in coming up with the plan, we had become aware of the county trying to, put a lot of dollars towards mental health. And we know because of the pandemic, mental health is big. It was big prior to the pandemic, but now, a lot of those issues has been, increased. And we want to do whatever we can to assist with putting a focus on mental health, to decrease the depression, addressing, suicide and things like that, and just trying to, do what we can to get people out of that bad space that we're coming out of.
Right. And I also read that part of this plan was public safety. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, we want to, our approach to public safety is, number one is bringing, my thing with public safety, and it's not the traditional thought, it's if somebody has a home, transportation, a bite to eat, that's public safety to me. So our approach is, when we're thinking about public safety, it's not, hey, let's put a lot of cops on the streets or things like that, or cameras up or anything like that. It's, what can we do to meet the needs of the community, whether that's, youth in the community dealing with conflict resolution and, not being able to mentally deal with situations. That's a big part of the, stuff that's going on. It's, our youth don't really have, outlets to express themselves in a positive way, or how to figure out how to channel that energy in a positive way. Me coming up, I lucked up and was able to get into wrestling. But prior to wrestling, I was always getting into fights at school, suspended, getting in trouble at home, and all those things. So we just want to try to provide opportunities and outlets for not even just our youth, but people in the community to have some hope and, feel better about themselves. So whether that's bringing a manufacturing plant to North Omaha, so somebody has a livable wage job and they could take care of their family, or whether that somebody can be inspired and have hope to go to an innovation hub and say, hey, I'm working on my business idea and I'm going to the innovation hub and I'm getting help. So those type of things.
Right. Yeah. Well, you're talking a little bit about who this plan is affecting. So we're thinking some, youth, definitely some of the areas. Can you go a little bit more into detail on like, yeah, who is this plan affecting? What areas specifically are you planning on developing?
Who is this plan affecting? I think it affects a wide range of the community, our youth, our adults, our seniors as well. One of the focus areas we're looking at is, for example, 16th Street. Historically, 16th Street has been historically underdeveloped, funded. When you drive down 16th, you see a bunch of old plants that nobody knows what happened to them, but they're there and they've just been sitting there for pretty much my whole life. And we want to try to develop that and make it a better space. So, you know, to change the negative perception of North Omaha, So developing areas like 16th Street. But for example, we're also, looking at the Malcolm X area and Adams Park area to see what we could do to attract more people to go to Adams Park, because I think it's underutilized, and also putting attention on the Malcolm X Center, which should be a staple in our community. Malcolm X is from Omaha, but up to now, I don't think we've given him the right, just due as far as honoring his legacy and what he contributed to humanity.
Right. So with who it's affecting, do you already have a list of organizations that you're going to be working with or that are involved in this plan?
As of now, I would say no, none of the dollars are, specifically allocated to anyone yet. We're trying to just go through the process and then take the, RFPs in and really look at it. We have ideas like the Malcolm X Center, the Adams Park area, but specific organizations, I wouldn't say any as of yet, because we're still going through the process and we don't know how much money exactly we'll have to even work with.
Okay. And what do you mean by RFPs?
Request for proposals.
Okay.
So saying, hey, like we have this and we want to address, let's say, mental health. Can you send in a proposal? How would you address mental health in North Omaha or South Omaha? Something like that.
Okay, cool. So you're going to have a special committee that's going to accept the proposals from the community?
Yes, that's the plan. It's not set in stone because we still got to get it passed, but that's our plan.
Okay, great. Yeah, I guess that was my next question is, if you do get it passed, how will you implement the plan? I know that you're thinking of a timeline from 2022 to 2025, right?
Yeah, I believe we have until 2026 to expend the money. So it's probably a 3 to 4 year, process with the money and the projects.
Okay, cool. So to distribute the money, how long do you think that would take? Yeah, can you put a little bit into detail of what you think that process will look like?
So we take in the request for proposals. We go through that process of evaluating those proposals. I think it just depends on the area. So with housing, I envision that being a lot smoother, possibly, but we have, the world is at war right now. So we have to think about that. So I can't say exactly. I know with some things, it'll be easier to get, resources out, but things like housing and stuff, I hope it doesn't, take as long as it could, but I think it just depends on the project, honestly.
Okay, yeah. So I guess people should, so you said that maybe you're gonna go into debate on Tuesday or Monday. When do you think you would know if you get the funding?
We won't know until probably, I'm guessing probably the end of the month at the earliest, because we have to go through general file debate, select file debate, and final reading. So at the earliest, the end of the month, at the latest, the end of session, which is around April 20th. So we probably a month away from actually knowing anything.
Yeah. Well, I'm asking for people who want to, keep up with a plan and things like
Yeah.
that, to know when they should be looking for more information. Well, why do you think that this plan is important and how will it lead to long-term change?
I think it's important because, when we look at the societal issues in North and South Omaha, one thing that's always left out the conversation is economics and, actually putting dollars towards these issues. For a long time, I think we've tried to address these issues through social programs and nonprofits and things like that. And not a knock to social programs and nonprofits. I just think, for example, I've been alive almost 32 years. That approach still has us with the highest impoverished communities in the state. We still have the same issues that were prevalent when I was a baby. I think we have to take a different approach. And in doing so, I think it could transform the community and make it a place and set a standard for the rest of the country that say, hey, this is what you do when you devote resources to communities like North and South Omaha. And this is the type of change you could get. And we could just set a standard. So hopefully some other, impoverished community across the country could look at us and say, hey, we're going to follow their example and try to do what they did. And at the end of the day, my whole focus of ever running for office or doing what I do in the legislature is to make the community a better place than when I got in. And that's number one was decreasing poverty and making sure that another kid doesn't have to go to sleep hungry or with the lights off or have to take a cold shower because the heat's not on, those type of things.
Yeah, definitely. And I know you were talking about, how you got ideas for this plan. And you said there was like what, 20 other plans in the past?
It's
Or
been, it's been so many plans from the 90s to now, and you can even date back to probably the 70s of different plans that never got implemented for North Omaha. And and you just look at those and you're like, man, the possibilities if this was ever done, if those things that happened in the 90s or early 2000s, I just think like, wow, we could be in a much better space. But it didn't happen. But now we have an opportunity to take advantage of what the federal government has decided to allocate to our state, and we're just hoping to just be able to utilize those dollars in the most meaningful way to better our state and our communities.
right. And why do you think that the plans from the past weren't able to be implemented?
um Probably plain and simple, nobody wanted to allocate the money to them. I think people, for right, wrong, or indifferent, just didn't care too much about North Omaha or actually seeing a purpose in doing what was right in the past. And people played a lot of politics, and we have people in places that probably could have pushed a button, not necessarily a button, but pushed a button and got these things done, but it didn't happen. And it's sad, but it is what it is. We just got to take what we handed and try to make the best out of it.
Right, right. So hopefully with this funding, you can implement some of those plans that, the community has wanted for maybe a while. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So how can someone who wants to be part of this plan, either by implementing it or, I guess that's going to be the biggest part. How can, people in the community or outside of the community get involved with um, helping make sure that, these things happen?
I would say number one, we set up a website so people could view the plan. It's northomaha2022.com if you would like to see a summary of the plan or the full plan. But also reach out to myself, Senator Wayne, Senator Vargas, and pay attention to the legislature. We're debating pretty much every day now. We'll probably be all day starting next week. So I would say go visit the website, northomaha2022.com, to get a better understanding of what we're trying to do. This is kind of was an overview. So if you do have time, go look at that. Also, again, reach out to myself, Senator Wayne, and Senator Vargas, And if you have any questions, let us know. And once we do get, some things more finalized, we'll be sharing things out with the community to let people know about how to, get involved and how to contribute, and how, if you do have an idea, how could you let us know?
Right, yeah. Because I think one of the biggest parts that I'm curious about is, will people, when they submit proposals, can it be just someone from the community, or will you have to be involved with an organization or a business, or have you thought about anything like that?
I think it just depends on of the nature of the proposal necessarily. I would say with, like an airport park, you would want somebody that's, well versed in developing areas like that. But there's other things that, deal with more grassroots community things that, somebody might need some resources for that we can help with.
Right. Okay, great. Well, is there anything else that you would like to share about this plan with the community before we end here?
Before we end, I would just say the North Omaha, well, let me say it right now, it's the North Omaha, South Omaha Recovery Plan. It is a plan to transform North and South Omaha to make, Omaha a better place for all of us, regardless if you live on the north side or the south side. We all could drive around and see that there has been a lack of investment in things like that. But now we have an opportunity to improve our communities and make it a better space for us all. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out, either call my office, send an email, write me on social media, whatever you think is works for you. So I would just say, if anything, reach out to other senators and let them know why it's important to you that the North and South Omaha Recovery Plan is completed and, fully funded.
Right. Okay, well, thank you so much. That's all for us today. We'd like to thank everyone for watching, but also thank you, Senator McKinney, for being here and telling us a little bit more about the plan. For the League of Women Voters of Greater Omaha, Karina Hernandez, reminding you to inform yourself about issues and candidates, and at election time, be ready to go vote Omaha. Thank you.